Start the program. So, as I said, we're going to look at sort of like a general marketing overview, a look at lead generation, some social media best practice, email best practice. I'm just going to give an overview on a nice book I read recently called Captivology. Look at how the Mitsubishi programs sort of relate to some of this, and then some call to actions. One of the things I will say at the beginning is, I cover a lot. My expectation is that very few of you can do all of it. My hope is that you could pick one or two things and do it very well, rather than try and do everything and then do it not so well. And then maybe in the fall you can build on what you've done well in the spring and add another couple of things and slowly build your sort of marketing and sort of lead gen capabilities season over season. So what is marketing? Well, now I went to college, show my age, between 1980 and 83, and I did business studies, and we used to talk about the 4 Ps: price, place, promote, and product. And marketing at that time seemed quite a simple process. And now when I look at it, I'm just amazed. And the whole connection of internet, social media, and a very important thing that I don't think enough people talk about is data, and the data that generates, that can analyze and then keep tuning what you do, has changed the whole marketing conversation. And that's why I think if you were doing something 5 years ago, you might want to think and review, because that probably needs some tweaking to be more valid now. And in that sort of, as we've changed the marketing sort of process significantly, I think how people buy has also changed significantly. I always use the TV analogy, and I apologize if people have heard it too many times, but when I buy a TV now, I very rarely go into the store to do any research. I'm online, there's all sorts of reviews, and I'm looking at not just the product spec, I'm looking at how it's rated in terms of the consumer's experience. And that sort of buyer journey of all that research before you actually are ready to actually engage in the purchase process needs to be built into your process of engagement. And one of the things I'm going to talk about is you need strategies for new customers where this is much more important than for existing customers, where more traditional processes and programs may work just more effectively. So just a quick capture that despite all the marketing changes, and I think most of our customers finding it difficult to jump into this new era, we've seen tremendous growth in our region. I'm giving Tom McSwell and his team props here, because I think they've done a great job over the last few years of supporting our growth. But we've seen 30% growth. And good product introduction. So we're doing something right, because we're growing faster than most regions with Mitsubishi, and Mitsubishi's market share is also growing in a market that's becoming more and more competitive. So when I talk about, and I'm going to talk about lead generation, I'm going to talk about some email strategies, some social media strategies by some of the social media tools, and also some stuff on the website. But really, this is focused around trying to get people in the top end of your funnel that are qualified leads that you can then start to sell to. I always put this slide up because I think it's really important to understand. Mitsubishi spends most of their money trying to engage comfort seekers and tech seekers. So if you're going to have a lead gen strategy, then you want to make sure you're aligning your lead gen activities to attract comfort seekers and tech seekers, because these are the two sets of people that Mitsubishi's trying to have put their hands up and say, I'm interested in Mitsubishi in our local market. And we provide the co-op funds for you to then harvest that interest they're generating in our market. And if you're trying to get basic buyers or sunbelters with the co-op dollars, then you're really missing where the opportunity is, which is with these two specific groups, comfort seekers and tech seekers. And they've been doing this for a number of years. So there's a lot of momentum built in that part of the market. And here's a quick profile. You know, that people's 30 to 54, household income of 125,000 or more, home value of 300,000 plus, ready to pay a premium price for a premium product, want customizations in the home, are fairly green, energy efficient, kind of conscious. And again, you know, these are the types of regions and locations you want to be focusing your marketing on. So it's those comfort seekers that meet some of this in terms of income, home value, green conscious, and customize their homes. And then if I look at, you know, some of the, and I'm not going to go into detail here, but, you know, we have a tremendous story to tell these people. We have the best heating product in an area that is absolutely prime for hyperheat. We have the largest product array of any of the vendors. When I did a quick kind of rudimentary math, I think we have almost 200 more options in terms of configuration than the next rival, which means that, going back to this, we can offer better customization for any home because we've got more configuration options than any of the other vendors. I like to talk about that, a better fit for every homeowner's needs. If you have more options, then you can give people a more specific fit for that specific home's needs. And I did mention the buyer's journey. And I think there's three layers to that. I've used this slide before. I hope some of you are familiar with it. There's how do you create awareness? And that's awareness of their problems plus the opportunity of what we can provide as a service provider. How you provide information to them so that you're part of their consideration. And then how do you get them to make a decision? And if you think about it in these three layers, I think the awareness stage is actually met mostly by Mitsubishi and their marketing, if you're marketing to those comfort seekers and homeowners. So our job is really to make sure that they consider us, you as a dealer, and that they then choose you. And part of that is how do you provide helpful information so they trust you, so that they're more likely to then decide to actually go with you. So I'm just going to look at, and Carney, our marketing specialist in the region, has put together a nice a nice PDF. So I'm just going to walk through that, and I can provide it to people if they want it later. So here's what he thinks is a good guide to an email and sending out an email. Hopefully you're all building up those email lists, because that's one of the most cost-effective marketing programs you can adopt. And you know, hopefully you have a good service book, so you have a lot of people that you contact. And I think Ductless fits into that sort of add-on sale to the homeowner, rather than sort of maybe also prospecting for new customers. But what he says is, you know, your email subject should be fairly short. It should be descriptive, and I think should have some sense of what the value is. Your branding wants to be very clear, obviously, about your company. Again, your headline in the body of the email, you want 50 to 70 words. It wants to grab attention. It wants to be text. My other recommendation is in the from, don't use your corporate name. Use your name. Be personal. People like personal, a sense of it being a personal email. So use a real name, not just a corporate address, and that would be something I would ding Carney on there. It has to be visually appealing. People, you know, the first thing people look at is often that picture, and if that doesn't engage them, you know, it's that saying of you know, we eat with our eyes, and unless we kind of create the right visual impression, then even if they read the email, they're not looking for reasons why they should proceed. They're probably looking for reasons why not. Here's your copy. Again, keep it simple. You want it you know, nicely laid out. Some of the special information, again, short and as visual as possible. And this is the most important thing. What do you want them to do? And that call to action is extremely important. And it depends on, you're more likely to generate, I think, a qualified lead if you can get them to your website, provide them some useful information that they can download in exchange for their contact information. So for instance, you might want to say, you know, we're running a special this month for a one-to-one hyperheat for that room that gets too hot in the summer, too cold in the winter, for as little as $99 a month. To find out more information, please click here. Contact the contractor. It lands them on your website where you have a little overview of the solution and a button that they can click on how ductless works, but they have to leave their contact information. And by doing that, what you've done is you've provided them some helpful information. If they click to download, you know they're qualified in some way. So you've increased your sense of a valued and trusted vendor, as well as capturing their contact information. And then you could start to develop your lead qualification process from there. So it could be in a week's time, you send a case study of a one-to-one on a room that you've done. It could be you send some pricing guidelines, broad ones. They don't have to sort of be too specific, but you start to feed them more information to qualify them as a lead. Could be you contact them directly. And obviously then your contact and information and what you know, just general information for getting hold of you. So, like I said, first impressions are very important. Is it visually appealing? Think about, eating with your eyes. If it doesn't engage you, then even if people read it, they're often looking, based on the image, for reasons to say yes or reasons to say no. So that first impression is so important. Like I said, use a real name in the from field. People like that personalization. Apparently it increases the open rate. You can personalize the content. So if you're going to use an email list and an organization that does the emailing for you, they can extract from the contact information the person's name and put that in the body of the email. If you do that, again, it increases your click-through rate. I think this is very important. Segment your email list. Decide who you're trying to target, what the purpose of that email is, and then make sure that the email list you're using aligns with that purpose. So if you've got people who are on your oil service list and they're they're up in the mountains and don't really have a high need for air conditioning, it's no good sending them maybe something about a cooling only solution. And then I think the other one, and I'm going to keep stressing this, is you need to have a very clear prime call for action. What do you want them to do once they've read the email? And I'll caution you that call me because I want to sell you this system is maybe not the best call to action. You might want to have something a little bit more subtle that gets engagement in a maybe slightly slower way, but increases your overall traction rate with the email list that you're trying to sell the systems to. So it's like trying to get the bunny to come out of the hole. Very rarely will the bunny just jump all the way out. You've got to just slowly bring him out with drips of useful information so that you can then grab him and maybe put him in a stew. So then looking at more social media best practice, here are some just general things that I thought were helpful. I think the first thing is, what do you want to do? What is your target with social media? It can be used in many ways. So, establishing clear objectives for what you're trying to achieve will really help you focus then on your action plan. And it's not about collecting like shares and what I call the measurables. It's about what is the overall goal. So is it you just want to build brand awareness in your local market, get everyone to know your name? Is it to gain new customers? Is it to strengthen your customer service or increasing engagement? I would suggest that you're probably, building brand awareness is never bad. Gaining new customers, good thing. Probably not customer service. I'm not sure how many of you use social media for customer service, but increased engagement is a great one because you can have useful information that comes out in a fairly consistent way that really helps your customers, be it things like how to change a filter or to assess whether they need to have the filter changed for them, to new thermostats and all sorts of things. And you want to make sure then, as your social media posts go out, that they support at least one of these goals. And then it's about what, there's so much social media out there now. What is the right one for you? We certainly think Facebook's a very good one. If you're in the more commercial world, we think LinkedIn. I think Pinterest is more for younger folks. Not sure how many people are using Pinterest in our demographic. YouTube's nice for maybe if you do some installs and people will let you video them. It's a nice way to share some information. Twitter I'm not sure about, and I confess I'm no social media expert, but it kind of seems kind of here today, gone tomorrow, and not as substantial as something like Facebook. So here's a recommendation from, I found this article on best practice. Post on Facebook at least once a day. Maybe that's a little bit of a stretch, but include a photo and graphic and call to action, good old calls to action. Again, posts with images generate more interaction. So again, it's that eating with our eyes. So okay to ask a question. I didn't realize that there was a best time to post on Facebook, but apparently between 1 and 4. Tweets, again, I'm not so sure whether that's the best medium for us. And if you're going to have to do 10 to 30 a day, and I know many of you are extremely busy, and this is one of the 40 or 50 plates you try to spin, I think just by that criteria, Twitter starts to rule itself out. Again, 1 to 3, Monday to Thursday on Twitter. But again, I'm a little Twitter skeptical. I didn't realize LinkedIn was the third fastest growing social network. Very much if you're looking to grow your business to business, and your light commercial, this is a much better mechanism by linking to those people and sending out information on a fairly regular basis. Again, it fits more, I suspect, the time available that you have. Again, the time to send those messages is 7 to 9, Monday to Thursday. Google Plus, I haven't seen, I think people are starting to use it more. I think it's still lagging the other 3 prime networks. I would certainly not focus on Google Plus at the moment. I'm happy to stand corrected on that. So brand your social media profile pages. Make it easy for consumers to recognize your business by maintaining consistency. So, your logo and tagline. Being consistent with that ensures that you're building that brand. Surprise, imagery is really important. So, you've got to have that nice visual content to get the engagement. Make sure people really understand what you do. So that's sort of in the bottom half. What is your company? What do they do? Why are you good? So that tone and voice, you want to be, I think we want to be consultative. I think one of the things with Ductless is it's not a broke replace market for the most part. It's a more consultative sale to solve those problem rooms that they've survived with maybe for 10 years. So it's not a must-have buy, and on that basis, it's a far softer sale. And then it is about quality over quantity. If you feel like you must do a Facebook every day, but you're not sure what that should be on the 23rd day, don't do it. If it's on the 3rd day, don't do it. It's really important because people will quickly turn you off if you're not offering some value, and then you've lost them. And I think this is really important. Create an editorial calendar to help organize and roll it out 3 months. What I do is I set a lot of my stuff up in my Outlook calendar, and I put a 1-day notice on it so that it kind of keeps me organized and keeps me ahead of what I have to do. Very important to monitor because there is a lot of data that comes out of social media that can fine-tune what you do, and like in the rest of your business, it's not just about what you do, it's what can I learn from what I've done so I can do it better, and learning and looking at the data so that you can start to realize what's working and what's not, and what you can do better will help you get better at this on an incremental basis. And the other thing is that you don't have to have all the new ideas. You don't have to be an expert on everything. And look at what your competitors are doing. How frequent are they posting? What sort of, can you see who they're trying to engage? What social media channels are they using? And learn from their best practice as well. And I think the final thing is, it's difficult and it's hard, like anything, if you're new to it. But if you stick with it, it becomes easier and easier. And sort of sticking with it, learning through your measurements, learning from what your competitors are doing, it will help you get over those first few leaps. I don't want to forget about traditional marketing as well. And we every year sit down with our print vendors and come up with some pricing on some of the standard stuff that you probably are quite good at. So, you know, you can get 1,000 statement stuffers for $27 because that's the co-op's cost. It's $81, and Mitsubishi meets a third, and Pierce Phelps meets a third. So your net cost is $27. If your TM has not told you what your co-op budget for Mitsubishi is this year, please ask him what it is, or her, so you know what you can spend. But they should have told you that already. But, you know, great deal on postcards, customized postcards with 2 drops. I like the radius mailing, and that goes back to sort of like knowing where your customers are. And we were talking about, you know, median household incomes and house values. So if you know an area that has a high concentration of high-value homes, and you know you've sold a lot of Mitsubishi in there, why wouldn't you, for $450, do a radius mailing to those? You only have to sell one system, and you've more than met that $450 cost. So looking at lead capturing, part of that is, so if you're going to drive people to your website, which becomes your primary sort of business hub for lead capture, then you want to make sure that your capture forms are easy to use. And one of the things that I see a lot of people make a mistake on is they're trying to close the sale in their social media or on their website. What you're trying to do is really just qualify lead and get engagement. And so make those forms easy and simple. Make what you're asking easy to follow, because really it's about a gradual engagement so that you can finally close them. I think this is a really good tip. Make sure your web pages are optimized to generate leads. So if you know the pages that your homeowners are most likely to go to, make sure you have good, clear calls to action on those. Make sure you can capture their information. Make sure that if you get good response on those pages in terms of click-through, make sure they're optimized so that more people can see them. Your call to actions must have urgency. So you need to ask yourself, how compelling is this call to action? Why would I want to do it now? The other thing is that based on the call to action, you can define a level of interest. If for instance, it's a click on how ductless works compared to how much does it cost, I would suggest that the how does it work is maybe in the awareness phase of those 3 phases. How much does it cost is you're into qualification and you're getting very close to a sale. So how you respond to those is obviously quite different, because if they're starting to talk about how much it's going to cost to them, you might want to respond a lot quicker than to the, you know, how does it work, as they're starting to gather more information. I think this is another one that what does a qualified lead mean? Who owns it, and how quickly should they respond? Because often in organizations, people, unless that's very clearly established, people operate to their own rules, and that can be different to what you're intending. So you need to make sure that, for instance, if someone downloads the pricing and, you know, sort of pricing guidelines, that maybe you want to make sure you contact that person within 24 hours, as opposed to the person that downloads how it works from a one-to-one special that you're running. You might want to send them a case study in a week's time as they sort of are gathering information and digesting it. I did read this book, Captivology. I'm not a big fan of new words, but if you do get the chance, it really is about how do you gain people's attention. It's 200 pages. You can skim it. It's probably a night and a half of sort of skimming reading. But it really talks about how do you stand out and gain people's attention in a society where we are information overloaded and a lot of stuff just goes by. And they have 7 layers of like interest, from authenticity, framing, disruption, right the way through to acknowledgement. And it talks about the short-term and long-term gaining of interest and awareness and attention. And authenticity is more of a short-term type of attention, and you're really trying to drive down to long-term. I'm not going to go into it, but it's if you have the time, it's certainly something worth looking at, because it's about sort of looking at how the brain works and how to capture its attention, and obviously that's really what lead generation is all about. So I thought we'd maybe have a quick case study. And as you know, if you came to the roadshows, we have a referral program. So I'm looking at the context of the referral program and how to market it and what to think of it, and who to target it to. And just while I'm on it, if you are interested in this, please talk to your TM. There's certain things that we require for the pre-approval. It's obviously a description, how you're going to promote it, how much it's going to cost, and a tracking tool. We actually have a tracking tool we'll provide. And upon completion, you'll need to do complete the form that we've provided. Just resend the promotion stuff, and a final invoice and billing summary, which should be part of the Excel tracking sheet. But we believe that a customer referral program is probably one of the most powerful programs you have. However, if you don't promote it, it has no value, because no one knows about it. So, as ever, many questions. So how are you going to get people actually to do the referring for you? So who are you promoting this to? Obviously existing customers. What is the best way to engage them? How are you going to let them know that you have a referral program? It can be a simple message, earn up to $100 when you refer a new customer. You can have a little click-through page that explains it in the email. Obviously, you want something like a happy person, happy customer, again, with our eyes. Another option could be a postcard. And every time you're doing a service or you're in a home, you do a leave behind with a card. Again, it can have a little bit of the program, or you can have a click-through to a page that you set up on your website. Now, if you're going to have a page on your website, you want to explain the program. Again, lots of happy visual conduct. Maybe you want some registration page as well where they can sign up, because then you're getting a little bit more commitment. You could even then, if they register for it, you can sign up and have someone explain it to them, so you get better engagement, so they're more likely to promote your company and your products to the neighbors. And another part of this, and sorry, it just came to me, is maybe this coincides also with a yard sign, that they can sign up to have a yard sign put in to their front garden, front yard, sorry, so that it all ties in terms of promotion and moving the company forward. So the referee. So what does the referee do once engaged by the referrer? How do they contact you? Do they go to your web page? Where do you want to land them? What do you want the referrer to give the referee? Is there a place where you want them to go to on your page? Do you want the referee, if they register, to have something that they can hand out to their neighbors? What should the page be when they go? And if you think about it, if you're a person who's being referred to your company, what's the prime source of information they're going to look at before they contact you? It's going to be your web page. So your web page has to have the right engagement, so they'll then pick up the phone and call you. And one of the themes I think that's very apparent from the broader industry perspective is, if you now don't have a web page, you're losing a good portion of your business. Over 50% because if you don't have that credible product information and linkage to what you're selling, then people just go to the next person. So in the referral case, if you're getting people to recommend you, and then the person who's received the recommendation goes to your website to just do some basic investigation, are they credible, and you don't have anything there that adds to that, then all you've done is given a qualified lead to someone else. So that sort of landing people on your web page and having the credible information and a call to action will do that. And if not, you're just exciting someone about the product and its capabilities, but sending them somewhere else. So we've talked about a lot. I hope just looking at how referrals would work gives you a good sense of trying to see how it all links in together, traditional email, website, to something that's integrated. But what are the big leaps forward that you could do? I'd say the first thing, if you do nothing else, and this goes back to just do one thing well, try and define a plan. What is your plan for the cooling season? Okay, what mix of new and existing customers do you want? I would suggest with Ductless that you might want to focus more on existing customers, because this is an add-on sale for the most part, much more than a new opportunity, and that you can leverage your existing relationships for the rooms that are not well conditioned. And then you need to decide what's the best channel to engage with these customers. How can I get them to think about Mitsubishi as a solution in their home for the problem rooms that they have? If you've got a strong email list, that might be the best way to do it. So you may be going for existing customers via email. What is your call to action? Is it to land them on the website? And how do you want to qualify those people when they come to your website? What value propositions do you want to propose in the email and on your website? And then broader questions are, how are you going to grow your social media and email lists? And on social media and things like Facebook, you don't have to have a strong following, because you can also buy Facebook ads. So Facebook has some very well-priced advertising capabilities that you can also grow, which are much more cost-effective than many of the traditional, like newspaper, TV, or whatever. Much more effective. And then I think the other thing is, what constitutes success? What are you trying to do, and how are you going to measure it? And measuring is really important, because if you don't measure, then you don't know how you can get better. And it's all about incremental improvement. So one thing I will say is that we have a great Mitsubishi product set of pages from EB&L. It's currently $550. It's a one-time fee. They will update the product pages. That will end the beginning of June, and there will be a $200 fee every year if you don't sign up before then. So if you're thinking about this, and we pushed it last year as well, then I would recommend you do this very quickly, because you're going to miss the opportunity, and you will then have to pay a $200 annual fee as well. This will give you at least some credibility around Mitsubishi on your web page when people think, are these the guys that know anything about Mitsubishi? So what are the components of a message, looking at some of the offerings that Mitsubishi has? The first one is, I think, the ability to offer a better solution, a more customized solution than any of the other manufacturers. And I think this is a great diagram to show that. And looking at 43 compared to 18, 20 or 18, you got, what's that, 25 more or 23 more options combined with the outdoor units gives you just an amazing set of possibilities. And I think, you know, and I don't talk about it here, but using the design tool becomes more and more important as the array of options broadens and becomes more complex. So a better fit for every homeowner's needs might be a message that you want to push out to your existing homeowners because of all those options that you have. We have better hyperheat. We have better heat performance. We're in a prime area where you don't need a secondary heating option. Kumo Cloud. For those tech seekers, probably not a better application of something that will truly speak to them and really focus on their needs and set you apart. I would certainly recommend, you know, that become part of your marketing message, and also in every proposal to help close and differentiate your offering. And it's, you know, an easy to use interface. Hopefully you're all aware of it. Utility rebates, not just utility rebates, but the Pierce-Phelps rebates. And Mitsubishi has a great rebate locator tool. So, you know, you can actually find those rebates and be specific to those people. You could even put that in a message. Find out what your rebates are, but make sure you're promoting rebates, because we know that based on our rebate program and talking to the utilities, less than 1 in 10 dealers are proposing rebates. And if most people do 3 to 5 contractors, there's a good probability that you're going to be the only guy who's going to put rebates on the table. Does that make you look like a better contractor? I think so. Does it help you overcome the complaint that it's too expensive and the objection it's too expensive? I hope so. So putting that up front in some of your lead gen should also help you get the trust and attention of some of the homeowners. Like I said, nice app from Mitsubishi on finding rebates. It'll list. So if you're going in to a home, you can actually find out, and you know what you're going to propose. It'll tell you whether there's a rebate, or maybe you want to find a different option with rebates when you're looking at the opportunities and propose maybe 2 different solutions. Like I said, we have our rebate program as well. So in places like Delaware, where there is no rebate, we can still generate $400. If you combine this with PP&L, you're over $1,000 because their rebate program is very rich. Referrals, we spoke about this. Synchrony financing. There's a tremendous financing opportunity. We know that many of those people under 50 have good jobs but have a high debt ratio due to things like college debt, and look far more favorably on financing. Mitsubishi has brought down a lot of the rates, and you can register for these programs if you're a diamond contractor, and offer them tremendous rates. The 7.75% is much less than any other program. Apparently, talking to various dealers, Synchrony is fairly easy to use. So again, that would certainly be something I would be using in the front end to try and generate those leads. So, you know, again, you know, marketing isn't a science. It's all opinion, and I don't profess to be particularly a great marketing expert. But what I would recommend is pick something that you want to do really well at a minimum. Create your plan. Make sure you're using your co-op to fund that plan. Decide on your targets and mix. Decide what problem you want to solve and what the solution might be. Decide what the best way to communicate with those target customers is, and make sure your web page has product content, some solutions, and calls to action. I hope you found that helpful. I'm just going to see if there are any questions. I guess currently not. So thank you very much. I hope everyone found that helpful. I'm going to save the recording and make that available to everyone. Thanks and have a great day.